Hey, good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. I just want to start off by saying this. Julia, I think I understand what's going on with her as it relates to Gertie. Julia is just, I don't know what she is, right? She's just not likable, honestly, from what we've seen on the show this season. A lot of people didn't like her last season either. I thought she was okay last season. I didn't like the back and forth that she had initially with Gertie about, her son passing away, although I somewhat understood where she was coming from. But overall, last year, I thought she was fine. But this year, I feel like she obviously wants to be a part of the Alexia and Marisol duo. She's really thirsty for their attention to be in that group, so much so that she has, I want to say, vacated her relationship with Adriana, and she's vacated her relationship with Gertie as well. That is the price that she has had to pay to be in the good graces of Marisol and Alexia. Let's just keep it real. Neither of those women care for Gertie, and they certainly, more so Marisol than anybody else, does not care for Adriana. So she had to drop both of them to be relevant with these two ladies, and it's quite sad. The reality of the situation is, if anything were to go down between the three of them, Julia would be cut off immediately. So it's just like, girl, you on the wrong road, sis. Wrong team, wrong road, wrong everything. Now that I've gotten that off my chest, let's get into this review. I saw an interview that Gertie had, and I can't remember who it was with. She basically talks about the cruise situation. And I'm here thinking, okay, this happened like last summer. Do y'all know that this happened back in 2023? Do y'all know that there was a whole reunion in between the time that it happened and now? And we're just now finding out about it. Like, Julia is just now all of a sudden upset about it. I was floored when I found this out. Like, are we serious? And it just furthermore supports my opinion that Julia just wants to be in the good graces of Alexia and Marisol, because why are we bringing this up now? If it was such a bad experience for you, if you felt so bad about what Gertie did, and to be honest, and I'm not even going to get into it, Gertie didn't do anything that is not reasonable. But if you're so distraught and upset about what she did, how come you didn't address it when it happened? How come you did not bring it up on the reunion? Drop some comments down below if you agree with this and if you've heard or saw this interview with Gertie as well. So we see that Julia actually goes back into Gertie's party to confront her after Adriana told her she needs to stand up for herself, and Gertie wasn't having it. Gertie was not happy with the way that Julia came at her, and Gertie was like, just go, just go. So Julia leaves. In the next scene, we see that Stephanie and Larsa are at Stephanie and her husband's home. I'm thinking this is a new home. Come to find out, this is the home that he shared with his ex-wife. And Stephanie basically wants to demo the whole thing and change it up because she does not want this man, her husband, to have any recollection of his past at that house with his ex-wife. She went as far as removing the pool and designing a whole new one in a completely different location. That was crazy to me. Like, I've never, not that, I'm rich or anything like that, but I mean, I guess is this the norm? I don't know. I've never seen somebody go to that extent to try to erase someone's past. And I would have to think that maybe he's still going to remember in some way, shape, or form that he shared this house with his ex-wife. And if you have to do all of that, why not just buy a different property? But anywho, one of the things that stood out for me outside of that is the fact that Stephanie said that she wanted a separate entrance for her help. And I was like, that's real snooty. That's real. And I just felt a way about that. Why do they have to have a separate entrance? Like, you don't have to see them? Like, what is that about? I don't know what to think about Stephanie. I'm not going to say I don't like her. I'm not going to say I like her. I just don't know what to think. I know a lot of people are enjoying her this season. She's okay. Although I don't care for Alexia, I understand where Alexia is coming from with Stephanie jumping in about her relationship with Todd. Girl, you just got here. You've never met Todd. You've never seen us together. You should have no opinion. And if you do have an opinion, it's okay. And matter of fact, let me scratch that. It's okay for you to have an opinion, but definitely keep it to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just seemed like, girl, what? What are you talking about? And I can only imagine the conversations that she has with Larsa by themselves about the women in this group. Because if we don't think that they be kikiing and gossiping about the rest of these women, I don't know what to tell you. It's clear based on the fact that Stephanie feels so comfortable talking about Todd, and it's also clear later on in the episode when she thinks that she's talking to Larsa on FaceTime, just the two of them, and we'll get into that later. Another thing about Stephanie is I applaud the fact that she defends herself like she did with the Gertie situation when she said to the group, I'm going back in the party because I want to hear Gertie's side of the story, and she got flack from it from Alexia. However, she's quick to be rah, 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 but then apologize to the person a couple of minutes or however long later. She did that with Alexia, and she also did that with Lisa when they had that feud about them having to wait on the bus for Lisa. I don't think that she really is that girl. Okay, I think that she initially is, and then she cowers down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to continue to watch her, but that's just two examples that I've seen thus far this season. I know in the upcoming episode this week that they are going to have another little feud, her and Alexia, and I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing. Let's move on. Kiki and Larsa get together to discuss this yacht trip that they're taking, and they're going over the seating. And the takeaway that I got from this scene is Kiki is not Gertie's friend. I don't really care for Kiki either because I feel like she wants to be in that Larsa group. And Larsa is not as bad as Alexia and Marisol, but she's kind of like in the middle. So I just feel like, girl, that's the wrong side too. So anyway, they're going over the seating chart. She says to Larsa, I know you don't want Gertie. And then they are going back and forth a little bit about where Marisol should be. They have to have two yachts basically because they're saying that they all can't fit on one, even though I think that they could, but they want to make the show interesting, so whatever. They called Marisol because they realize that Marisol is going to have to be on the yacht with Adriana, and they just want to make sure that she's okay with that for whatever reason. Because they know something that clearly Adriana does not. So they call her, and Marisol's like, I don't want to be on the yacht with Adriana. So she is assigned to the yacht with Kiki. Excuse me, she's assigned to the yacht with Larsa. We get a scene with Alexia and her boys, and I did not know that Peter was 32. I thought he was much older. I'm just gonna be honest. I remember, I was not a Real Housewives of Miami fan when it first came out. I kind of binge watched the seasons and really enjoyed it. I don't know what it was. Like the first season, it just didn't do it for me. I just was not entertained enough. And so I would always watch certain episodes in the first season, not get through it, and then go back. But I finally, I think last summer or something, watched all of the seasons and I got into it. So I don't remember, even though it was last summer, I was not really paying attention to Peter like that. But I didn't realize he was just 32. I would have put him much older than 32. Alexia's in her rented home and she's like, I'm trying to keep my options open, basically alluding to the fact that the reason why she's not buying a home is because she might still get back together with her estranged husband. Listen, I just don't know. In your mind, you could love somebody, I understand, and love will make you do some crazy things. But that man, Todd, he left you and had a plan to leave you and is just playing with you at this time, in my opinion. Maybe y'all are playing with each other. I don't know. But I could not be with someone who did not want to be with me or was kind of like up and down with whether or not they wanted to be with me. I feel like with Alexia and Todd, it's very much in Todd's court what happens with them. She's just going along with whatever he says and does. And she really does not have a say. And that's just not a situation that I personally would want to find myself in a relationship, because where is the trust with that? One day he wants to be with you, the next day he doesn't know. That's just too much. They start talking about Frankie. We find out that he had some health issues and she realizes that she's not going to be here forever. And there was one point where she says that she was really concerned because she would not know who to have as a caretaker for Frankie. She really obviously would want it to be Peter, but he just was not mature enough to be able to do that. And apparently now he is. I don't know anything about him outside of this show. I do know that there have been some antics over the years with him. But from what I've seen on the show, I still don't think that he is ready for that type of commitment. I think that Frankie makes more sense than both of them mostly all the time. And this young man has had a traumatic brain injury. So for him to still, even with that, make more sense than his brother and his mother says a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe he would just be fine for the most part on his own rather than Peter step in and take care of him should something unfortunately happen to Alexia. Moving on, we see that Gertie is out with Dr. Nicole. She makes her appearance. Dr. Nicole was on the show last year, and I enjoyed her. I really did. I'm not sure why she did not return this season. Listen, guys, I really don't do a lot of homework, and maybe I should, but I don't do a lot of homework about the cast and what's going on with them outside of what I see on the show. Okay, so maybe you guys can fill me in the comments below, or I'll just have to look it up. But anyway, she's having lunch with with Gertie, and we find out that Stephanie used to date Dr. Nicole's fiance and her baby's father, Anthony. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, I had no idea. But then just thinking about how both of them, Dr. Nicole and Stephanie, kind of favor each other, it's clear that Anthony has a type. Nothing wrong with that. And you just don't know when you're in the presence of your ex partner how that is going to feel to you. But Dr. Nicole was really just open when when Gertie put Stephanie on FaceTime, and those two really hit it off. And I would love to see Dr. Nicole come back, Stephanie stay on for another season, and see what that dynamic is like. Now, Stephanie did throw a little bit of shade talking about how both Anthony and her husband have yachts, but theirs is bigger. It's clear that Stephanie is really into money. Okay, it is what it is. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but like, who cares? Okay. And I also want to say this, although I don't follow them outside of the show, I did hear that Dr. Nicole and Stephanie have gotten together outside of the show, and they seem to be, good with each other, which is really refreshing to see. Dr. Nicole says that she is confused by what's going on between Gertie and Julia, so they talk a little bit about that. That just furthermore fuels my theory as to why Julia is treating Gertie the way that she's treating her. There is no reason for it. Anywho, let's move on to the yacht. The girls are all on their respective yachts, and Kiki thinks it's a smart idea to tell Adriana that Marisol did not want to be on the yacht with her. Now, this is news to Adriana because, as far as she's concerned, she thought that she and Marisol were heading in the right direction. And this kind of, I think, coupled with whatever Adriana has going on in her life, is clear. When I look at her, I just see sadness. I see her trying to push through the sadness or suppress the sadness, but it's a sadness in her eyes, her demeanor. I don't know what's going on with her. Obviously, I feel like she's not been lucky in love. I remember when I did watch, I remember earlier on in the earlier seasons that she really didn't have a support system in Miami. She was kind of just by herself. I remember that. So I don't know if that's still something that she is going through. We don't really see much of her much of her by herself or what's going on in her life outside of the group, right? She's a friend of, so she really doesn't have a lot of scenes to herself. And I just don't know, but what I do know is that I sense a lot of sadness with her. Let me know if you guys feel the same. And then the drinking that she was doing, it obviously didn't help. I honestly felt bad for her. I did, because she was drunk, okay? And this kind of, like I said, sets her off as it relates to Marisol because she thought that they were in a better position. She lashes out at Marisol, and she says that the fake Birkin bags and cubic zirconia rings will not absolve you of the evilness in your soul. And then she also proceeds to body shame her. Listen, I was okay with the fake Birkin bags and everything. That was fine for me, okay? I don't know if that is the truth with Marisol, if she rocks fake things. I don't know. But that was okay. When she started to body shame, I felt uncomfortable. I did not like that. So they have this little semi back and forth between the two of them. The women all go on one boat to have dinner. At this point, Stephanie leaves to go to Canada so she and her husband can go on a date night. And then she is to return the next day, which I thought was really interesting. I'm just like, girl, you either could have just skipped the whole thing and came the next day, or just did the yacht trip and y'all could have waited to go to Canada. I mean, you guys are, from what we see, filthy rich, so it should not be a problem. That's just my opinion. You know, you're filming this reality TV show. It just makes no sense for her to leave for a couple of hours and then return a couple of hours later. That's just me, though. But I just thought it just made no sense. You know what I'm saying? What a waste. But anyhow, they all are sitting around and having dinner, and Larsa thinks it's a good time for them to play a game where they go around, I guess, and say something about one another. Lisa, thank God, uses her head and says, at least try to say something nice about each other. So, of course, Marisol and Adriana, it's their turn to speak, and Adriana says that she really likes Marisol's sense of fashion. I thought that was a nice compliment. Marisol is like fishing for something nice to say about Adriana, which I just like, girl, that woman is not a horrible woman. At least from what she's displayed on the show, she's not. So why are you making it seem like she is? Not to mention, going back to the earlier days of Miami, Adriana and Marisol's mom were really kind of close. So close that when Adriana was getting married, her mother gave her one of the items that she wore. I can't really remember what it was, but I think it was an item. Maybe it was a veil or something that she wore for her wedding. They were that close, okay? That was obviously also when Adriana and Marisol were on better terms. But even saying, like, listen, I appreciated the fact that you were there for me when my mother passed away, or you and my mother had a decent relationship, she could have said that. You know what I'm saying? But she says, I like the fact, or I think that it's really cool that you can play piano. And I was just like, womp, 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 Marisol. This just further, for me, justifies the fact that, yeah, girl, you may really have a dark soul. I mean, come on. You can say something nice, and whatever's going on between the two of them, is it really that serious? I don't think it's that serious. Let's move on. Then it's Gertie and Julia's turn, and they kind of go back and forth about what is happening in their relationship, and they both agree after Gertie and Alexia get into it that they're going to keep whatever's going on between them and have a separate time where they meet and discuss their friendship, which, I mean, didn't they agree to do that before and Julia broke it? So I'm kind of looking at Gertie a little bit like, girl, why would you think that she's going to adhere to that again? But anywho, Alexia and Gertie get into it. Alexia feels like Gertie was dead wrong for displaying those text messages, and that the other ladies feel the same way. And they kind of try to gang up on Gertie a little bit. And I just love the fact that Gertie was not having it. Gertie was not going to be a coward. She said to them, I don't care how you guys feel. I'm not apologizing for what I did. And she stood 10 toes down on that. And I much respect to Gertie. Much respect to her, because I think other people would have just been like, okay, yeah, you're right. No, Gertie was like, no, I'm not going to have this woman basically lie on me. And they also asked the women in the confessional, the producers that is, if they've read the text messages that Gertie displayed that night. And none of them did. So they still don't know the context of what's going on between Julia and Gertie. And we all have already pointed out how hypocritical it is for them to try to jump down Gertie's throat about these text messages, but not really have anything to say to Julia about throwing that water in Gertie's face. One of these offenses could give you a record, could put you in jail potentially. So the fact that they kind of just, whatever, about that and want to get really upset with Gertie about a text message that doesn't even share Julia's name as far as I saw. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. There's no names listed. It's a party of 40 people. And Gertie has a right to defend herself in whatever way she deems fit. So again, like, it's just very hypocritical. It's given, it's our side over here and it's y'all over there. And that's the type of thing I feel like that really destroys these reality shows when they try to have alliances like this for absolutely no reason, by the way. If you can give me a good reason as to why you guys don't like Gertie, then maybe I can understand. Not what they're doing to her, but just why you don't like her. I think at the end of the day, they really don't want her to be a part of the show because she is a fan favorite. And as I hope two things for next season. I hope that Gertie returns, and I hope that Dr. Nicole comes back on the show. Because those two together, they'll handle these girls. So it's the next day. Stephanie and Larsa are on a FaceTime call. And they had, I think it was earlier in this episode or last week's episode, there was a reference about Alexia calling herself a Rockweiler. So Stephanie says to Larsa, what did the Rockweiler say? As Larsa is recapping what happened when Stephanie went on this date amongst the women on the boat. Stephanie at this point does not realize that Alexia is sitting right there. So Larsa pans the phone over to Alexia, and she is giving it to Stephanie. Stephanie is now trying to do what I told you she always does, kind of be apologetic or say, I'm just playing. Girl, no, you wasn't playing. You was serious about calling that woman a Rockweiler. Okay? This is the banter that you and Larsa have with one another, because y'all definitely talk mess about these women. And just own it. Okay, just own it. That pretty much closes out the episode. I want to know what you guys thought about this. I thought the episode wasn't too bad. Like I said, I just feel bad for Adriana. Something's going on with her that we are not privy to, obviously. There's a sadness there. There really is. But anywho, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the show, and I will see you in the next review. Bye-bye.